Good morning, folks. This is Kerry with 401k Dexters. What does my retirement honeymoon look like? So, watching a video the other day on YouTube where a guy was talking about the different stages of retirement. I've seen this discussed several times on Two Sides of Phi. You guys haven't seen that YouTube channel, check it out. It's two guys, one guy that retired early, and another guy that is his lifelong friend that is yet to retire. And the Two Sides of Phi really talks about what it's like on one side being retired, and then on the other pre-retirement. So Eric and Jason are the guys' names. Real good channel, real good discussion. That's one of my favorites. So speaking of YouTube and favorites, I want to throw a shout out to all the new subscribers. 832 as of this morning. So inching a little bit closer to 1,000 subs and monetization. Appreciate everybody giving a thumbs up, making comments, subscribing. If those of you are new to the channel, I retired at the end of September from a systems engineering job that I held as my last position with L3 Harris Corporation. Prior to that, I was in technical publications as a writer or an illustrator, writer, editor, and eventually manager of a small group. I was supposed to retire at the end of 2022, but we found out that my daughter was pregnant, and we wanted to stick around close proximity to her and her husband for our grandson's first year. So I ended up extending my work one more year and getting finances in line, tweaking financial plans, working through the numbers, and enjoying being close to family that one last year. But the stages of retirement that are talked about are the pre-retirement, the planning stages, the anxiety, the excitement that builds up to retirement, and then the honeymoon phase. Once you retire, the disenchantment phase that follows the excitement of being retired, and then a reorientation once the disenchantment wanes. And then the final stage is stability, where you've worked out all the kinks, you've gone through the different emotions that you've experienced, and you've settled into being retired. Right now, at 63, 64 days, I'm still in that honeymoon phase. So I kind of wanted to go down a list of things that I made to share with you what my honeymoon phase looks like for all of you that are either pre-retirement or thinking about retirement, to give you an idea of what that looks like. So the first thing that I noted down was there's a shift in priorities. Whereas pre-retirement, work takes a large part of your energy and your planning. So everything is planned around work. The weekends are filled with marking things off a list or getting projects or tasks done that you couldn't get done during your work week. So that first feeling of retirement that I experienced was a freedom of schedule, to where I wasn't dictated that I needed to be somewhere at a certain time and accomplish certain things. Now, what that does is that shifts all that planning to your shoulders and says, all right, what do I need to get done and when do I need to get done? I've mentioned before that Linda and I make lists. Hers is more of a daily list, mine is more of a project-based list. So looking at those lists and figuring out what we're going to get done when and how that melds into both of our schedules. We do most everything together. There's not really any time that Linda goes and does something by herself. There might be times when she goes with our daughter for a doctor's visit or maybe a shopping trip that I'll either stay home with our grandson or go do something else that I might have planned. So there is an acclimation in that honeymoon phase of shifting from a prioritized working schedule to spending time with your spouse. It was funny because the first few days, Linda shared with me about a week into retirement that she kind of had anxiety of me being retired, where I was kind of ecstatic and really, enjoying not having a job and not being, in the grind and under the corporate pressure. She kind of had a little worry of, oh, geez, we're retired. Now what are we going to do? Where I didn't really have that. But we have both done well in planning our time together and doing things together. She's my ranch hand when we go out to the property. For those of you that are new to the channel, we bought 12 acres south of where we currently live to retire to. We're going to sell the house that we're currently in and downsize. We've got well over 3,000 square foot house now, which we don't need. We're going to downsize from a 2-story down to a 1-story. I'm working on the plans now. I'll be handing those off to a drafter here in the next couple of months so he can finalize the plans and tweak it and get it down to the square footage that we want. It's encouraging because the houses in the neighborhood and in the area are still selling. They've come down from a peak, but the prices are comparable to where we feel confident when we sell this, we'll be able to build our retirement home free and clear. So that's encouraging. That property gives us something to retire to, and I think that's important. I know Joe Kuhn really promotes this on his channel, is make sure that you have a plan for what you're retiring to. Don't just all of a sudden retire and wonder what you're going to do. I think there was Gene Mason, maybe one of the guys that comments on the channel frequently, related and shared that his retirement honeymoon consisted of a little bit of worry and being scared of, oh geez, now what am I going to do? So having that property and that homestead and those cows out at the property really gives us something that we know that we've got to go down and check on the cows. We got to make sure that the fences and the paddocks are in good shape to rotate them from paddock to paddock. Got to make sure that there's hay, so when the winter rolls around and all the grass dies, that we've got hay that we need to shuffle into each one of the paddocks and move the cows around. So that's a lot of work down there, but it also gives us that something to retire to and concentrate on. Another thing is we explored gardening this last year pre-retirement. With the goal of growing quite a bit of vegetables for our consumption while we're down at the homestead. I planted some turnips right outside the office here in our home garden. Those are doing really well. I might have missed it. I may have planted a little bit too late, but I went out and thinned them out the other day and the plants look great. I did eat some of the turnip leaves in one of the salads. Linda was not really interested in it, but I wanted to try it and see what it was like. They were good. They were mild, sweet flavor. So interesting to see how the turnips progress here in the next month before it gets too cold for them to grow. And that's one thing in that honeymoon phase, is exploring hobbies, establishing hobbies, finding out what interests you have. YouTube has kind of turned into one of my hobbies. Sharing what it's like being retired, sharing our homestead, what it's like with raising Dexter cattle. So that'll be a fun part of retirement, is sharing with all of you and kind of documenting our process of that transition from where we are now to where we're going in retirement. I've done a lot of reading. I really want to get in that mindset of reading and exploring characters and plots. I've mentioned before that I've got a couple of books in mind, one that's about 3/4 of the way done. I reached a certain point and then put the pen down, so to speak. So I really am interested in reading and absorbing a lot of that characterization and plot manipulation. So that's one thing that I've done in the honeymoon phase. And also, we've got a young German Shorthair Pointer that had really done well in summer camp, and we're thinking about sending him off to winter camp to fine-tune him to get him completely steady so we can run him in field trials next spring. So that'll be another hobby that we'll be exploring early next year. All that goes down to building lists and prioritizing things, whether it's a need to get down and fill up the water for the cows, or whether it's a call to a field trial trainer to get him a spot in his training program. Um, just the day-to-day projects that we need to do, the shopping list that Linda makes, the menu items that she puts together so we can plan our groceries and cooking together. That's another, I don't know if you'd call it a hobby, but something that pre-retirement Linda did most all the cooking and I would do the cleaning, i.e. washing dishes. That worked out well. That way we didn't have to eat what I cooked, but I have gotten more into making quesadillas and low carb pizzas on low carb tortillas. Um, I'm really good at making omelets, so I'm trying to contribute in that area, and it also puts us in the kitchen together so we can have that time together. Those lists also include family time, getting time to visit my mom, who's not in the best of health. Um, I have a young sister that's over in the Fort Worth area, so getting time to spend together with her, as well as the grandson, planning dinners to have the kids over, so we can spend time and family time. The holidays are coming up, so it's one thing that I think worked out well for our planning purposes of retirement was to put that honeymoon phase right around the holidays. It's a joyful time, time spent with family, and really allows the time to be spent in good spirits. Lastly, the honeymoon phase that I have gone through is another check at finances and budgeting. For the first month, I really didn't worry about finances. I didn't look at 401k balances. I didn't tweak any Excel spreadsheets for budgets. One thing that we've been really diligent about is tracking our budgets. What are we spending? This November and December has been spent buying Christmas presents. So that's one thing that you have to put in your budget. All year long you're buying Christmas presents, Valentine's presents, Easter presents, birthday presents. So if you don't build that into your budget, then that's going to be something that pops up, and you may, have a hard time justifying spending that amount of money. Also, planning trips. We did plan a trip to Nebraska here recently to put flowers on Linda's parents' grave sites. That was a getaway trip. We stopped at a couple casinos on the loop, so had some time. But again, we gave ourselves a set budget to go enjoy ourselves, and the casino was enjoyment. We had a budget to go spend. Luckily, we spent that and made a little bit more on it. I think we ended up coming back a couple $100 up, so that was good. But that money goes right back into the gambling fund that the next time we get an itch to scratch, then we can pull a couple $100 out of the envelope and head off to the casino over in Oklahoma or Louisiana and have fun. That's kind of where our honeymoon in retirement sits. It was a lot of relief, planning what the next stage is going to look like. It doesn't really consist of any anxiety for us. There's excitement, like maybe those first couple of days for Linda, but she's gotten over that, and we are now in a point where we're really looking forward to get the house ready to put on the market. After we get through the holidays, we'll have some paint bibs on, take the things off the wall, tape everything up, cut in all the corners, get all the rollers out, get the ladders out, both inside and outside. But then it'll be a matter of packing things up and getting things transitioned from here down to the property, stored in our property, buying an RV, getting electricity hooked up to that. So a lot of planning, a lot of things going on in our life, but that's kind of what our honeymoon looks like right now. So I wanted to share with you guys so you guys have an idea of what ours look like versus what yours may have looked like, or those of you that are still in the pre-retirement phase, what you might have to look forward to. All right, it's Sunday. we've got a trip planned down to the property to water cows and to collect some firewood. It's starting to get colder here in Texas, so I wanted to have an extra layer or two of wood on our wood stack. We love our wood burning stove here at the house, and we will have one down at the property also. But offset the electric bills a little bit and have that cozy, warm fire during the holidays. You guys take care. Carrie at 401k Dexter's out.